So over the past month or so since Green Day, or I guess Billy Joe Armstrong, released their new side project, The Longshot, I've been listening to it over and over whenever I can, and I decided that I'd try something new and take a hand at giving a review about it, if that's something you're interested in. I've been working on the next pitch shift for American Idiot, but that's taking a lot longer than expected because I keep second guessing myself on stuff. So in the meantime, let's try something new. I'd like to go through the album kind of track by track, but not necessarily, just explaining some things I do like, some things I don't like, and ending with my general opinion on the album. Well, it's not necessarily a good thing to start your album with your best songs, since it leaves the second half of the album kind of, boneless if you didn't even enjoy the first songs to begin with. I really enjoyed the first two songs on this album. The last time has a sort of old classic rock charm to it that I just adore. The lyrics are on point, and it really takes me back to the kind of style of song that Brutal Love was going for, but I think it nails it on the head a little more. Something about the way Billy sings Hurricane on here really takes me back to the kind of classic rock, kind of the 70s style that I like to listen to whenever I'm not listening to punk. So for me, it's a really nice treat to start the album off with. The instrumentation isn't anything special. Billy has good guitar work, but the bass is very lacking. It's typical for songs like this to not have great bass, but since it's Billy Joe Armstrong, I was hoping for something a little more. I know he didn't write the bass, but whenever you listen to a Billy Joe Armstrong project and it's not Mike Dirnt in the background just blasting you away with his great bass, it's always a little disappointing. And the percussion is alright, better than the bass, but again, nothing special. Ultimately, it's a job that's catchy, it has a good rhythm to it, has a good melody, and it gets the job done. Taxicab is really a step up from that and is my favorite song on the album. It has an absolute Ramones worship vibe that Green Day is really fond of doing, and they always seem to just blast it out of the water whenever they try. It reminds me a bit of the song Pedestrian from the Foxborough Hot Tubs project, only just even further into the Ramones influence. Out of all the songs on this project, with all the rest of them feeling like a side project, this one probably most sounds like it could be a Green Day song. It's fast-paced, catchy, and has the same sort of appeal as songs like All the Time on Nimrod have to me. It's just really energetic, which is why it's pretty weird that they follow up probably the funnest song on the album with the one that I probably have the most wonky, lukewarm reception to, Chasing a Ghost. It hops straight from that 60s sort of old pop-punk sound straight into a sort of 80s, almost new wave worship, like jumping from Foxborough Hot Tubs to the Network, and it's kind of jarring. Chasing a Ghost has the same sort of situation that Still Breathing had on Revolution Radio, where most of the song comes from the melody, and how the melody manifests in the vocals, that if you aren't falling in love with Billy's delivery and the way that he carries the melody, there isn't really anything catching you in the instrumentals. And unlike with Still Breathing, where I did enjoy what Billy had to offer, here it's just not really my thing. The song's incredibly cheesy. I do like a lot of the lyrics. They have the same sort of charm as like the song Youngblood on Revolution Radio had, but overall it's kind of a letdown after Taxicab. Next, of course, is the infamous Body Bag. This one was on Ordinary World and it was flying around on the internet. People really liked it, and in the original recording I thought it was alright. I felt like it was kind of a shitpost type of track, that they knew how cheesy it was and they were kind of embracing it, which was supported by the not too stellar delivery from Billy and the kind of wonky production the original had, which is why I don't care for the new version of Body Bag. To take a song that felt to me like a shitpost and give it all this polish really deteriorates from all the charm that I think it originally had. And wow, it just kind of dawned on me that I'm sounding really negative. That's just my personality. I'm sardonic. But the next song I really genuinely do enjoy, the title track, Love is for Losers. Like the opening track, the last time it has that classic rock vibe to it. And while it's not as hard as I'd like, this album isn't very hard at all. It's very poppy. The instrumentation never really carries the song. You're always up to the melody and up to Billy's performance. And if you aren't into his melody, there are never instruments to catch it. I think that Love is for Losers might have the most solid, at least, instrumentals on the project. The lyrics on this are absolutely charming. It's probably my favorite lyrics on the album. I'm riding shotgun in a car that's broken down. My heart's a has-been for my long-lost Valentine. I searched the winter for my bride of Frankenstein. Well, we all got our delusions. Say goodbye to an old flame. It has a really, really good writing style to it that I haven't seen from Billy much other than on Rev Rad. It's like a it's like a final culmination of his writing style on previous albums like Nimrod. With the maturity in songwriting and style that he's gained, it just really works. Like the dreaded Chasing a Ghost, the song relies a lot on that bigger sound, the bigger vocals. I don't want to say arena because it's not that far, but it relies a lot on Billy's vocal melody. But on here, even though I didn't like it that much when I first heard it, it's really come to grow on me. So the next song is Cult Hero. Yeah, the song plays like a generic version of kind of a collage of the songs on Warning. It reminds me of Fashion Victim, Outsider, a little bit of Jackass, but generally has a, peppy, fun melody to it, a really strong Warning vibe, but again, it doesn't have the amazing instrumentals backing it up. It has a little more to offer than some of the other songs, so it's a little more punky, but it shares the same shortcoming I have with the whole album. The fucked up lyrics in Kill Your Friends is a real treat, and the guitar is fast, it's catchy, it has a sort of pounding drive to it, more so than previous songs on here. It's the kind of song that I might put on playlists and listen to for fun in the future, even if, again, the instrumentals aren't all that deep, don't have all that much behind them. Happiness sort of continues the fucked up lyric trend, with some really depressing, even more anti-religious lyrics. How unhappy is your happiness? Lonely nights, I'm too dumb to cry. As the song slow down, safety pins can purge all my sins. Seasons of my burnings, it gets kind of dark. Surprisingly off kilter for how the album's been going up to this point, but it's a decent song. Soul Surrender kind of snaps back on track. It has those classic lyrics like The Last Time and Love is for Losers, although not quite as satisfying as the previous songs. It probably feels the most Foxborough Hot Tubs with how the melody, how the song is constructed, but again, it leans a little too far into Billy and not enough of the actual band behind him. If you haven't heard my remix of Turn Me Loose on my YouTube channel and my SoundCloud, I also think that song's a little too slow. At this point in the album, after Happiness, after Soul Surrender, and after all of them fail to bring a real punching guitar, a real strong instrumental, by the time we get to Turn Me Loose, the underwhelming kind of compiles just how overwhelming the underwhelming can get at this point. So if you listen to Turn Me Loose, I might recommend you turn the speed up. Just at this point, it starts feeling a little long, even though the album's only half an hour. Finally, the album ends with a cover of Goodbye to Romance, and I don't have much to say about it. It's a decent cover. I wasn't a big fan of the original song. I'm not a big fan of the cover. I know that overall I generally sounded kind of negative to this album, but it's really not all that bad. If I had to give it a letter grade, I'd give it a good C, solid C, because it's a solid and average album, but it doesn't hold anything special. It doesn't have anything to make me keep coming to it. It's kind of the perfect side project album, actually. Unlike Foxborough Hot Tubs, it's not better than the actual studio album that followed it, so you don't have the issue of, well, why wasn't this an album? But you also don't have the issue of underwhelming, like the Network kind of had. It kind of lands in the ideal place where it's the perfect in-between holder, waiting from Rev Rat to whatever Green Day's next project will be, hoping that they have a next project. If this album has a flaw, it's that it leaves me wanting a little more. I want a little more out of the songs. I want a really strong bass line. I want great percussion. This album tries so hard to sound kind of like Green Day that it just, leaves me wanting a full Green Day album. Imagine that. There's one good bass line on this album, and it's a lift from Back in the USA. And it leaves me in a contradictory state where I'd either want some of these songs, some of the good songs, the 3 or 4 of them that are on here, to be saved for a Green Day album so they could get the full treatment, or I just wouldn't want this project at all. It's kind of frustrating. This is entirely a problem with me, not a problem with the album, but it leaves me concerned as to the state of the next Green Day album. As I said, this is a very in-between album, so it's kind of appropriate that the biggest conclusion I draw from it isn't what's in the album itself, but what it leaves me thinking about the next project. This album is overproduced for what it is. I'd prefer a sound like on Foxborough Hot Tubs for this very garage rock style, and it leaves me worried that the next album will be overproduced. The fact that some of these melodies are very decent and maybe should have been saved for a Green Day project leaves me concerned that they're overambitious with this next project and it'll be a political clusterfuck. Why would Billy leave some of these decent songs to the side? I know the Longshot released 3 more EPs after this. I haven't really gotten a chance to listen to them. I've just heard a few songs. I don't remember what they're called, but both of them were kind of slow, which was surprising. I might do a remix, remaster, pitch shift, whatever you want to call it, of those 3 EPs once I'm done with American Idiot and get that out in the next day or 2. But yeah, thanks for bearing with me for this little experiment. If you like it, leave a like, and if you want some more, maybe leave a comment. If you disliked it, then definitely leave a dislike. I know that this was kind of atrocious, but hope you stick around for the next album pitch shift / remix / reshift / whatever the fuck I should call them. I have no idea. I'm kind of in a genre on my own here. The only other YouTubers I've seen that do this kind of thing are flat-out pitch shifters like Sam Lichter, I'll link him in the description, or Plum Bob, is that his name? Who does these wacky, funny instrumental shifts like the percussionist forgets how to play the drums, and I'll link him in the description too. Alright, I don't know how to end the video, so that's it.